Let's welcome William Acosta, second time here. He's an international criminal defense investigator. We're going to talk about Venezuela, the warships deployment, and all those recent events in that region. But before that, welcome to the show, sir. Good to see you, and thank you for coming over again.
Thank you, Danny. It's always a pleasure being here on your podcast.
Absolutely. Well, how do you assess the current situation in Venezuela with deployment of warships from the U.S. side? You have a bounty on Maduro. You even have, I think Venezuela is mobilizing militia now. You don't know how many people they have. So what's the situation like in your eyes at the moment right now?
Well, let's talk about the bounty. The bounty on Maduro has been going on for years. Maduro has been indicted with Diosdado Cabello and a bunch of the members of the Cartel de los Soles, which is a criminal narco-terrorist organization. Under that umbrella, the United States decided first to name El Tren de Aragua, a proxy paramilitary gang that Venezuela utilized to send out throughout the entire Latin America, Central America, into the United States, and now in Europe to destabilize democracies in those regions. They first said the Tren de Aragua is now a narco-terrorist organization. And months passed by, and now they decided to name El Cartel de los Soles a narco-terrorist organization. That being said, it's a good start, and they elevated the bounty from 25 million. First they started with 5 million, and they went up to 10 million, and then 25 million, and now they're up to 50 million for Maduro. That is only to see if it causes enough of a movement within his people that are in close proximity to him to either turn on him to claim the bounty of the 50 million, or to have a young soldier or a couple of young soldiers take a shot at him and maybe do the same thing that they did with Hugo Chavez when they took him to the Orchila, an island outside of Venezuela that belonged to Venezuela, and they kept him there. And it was not until the people in the street started, rioting, that they wanted their leader back, that they had to bring him back. But right now, I think we have 3 AGI's guided missile destroyers, a reconnaissance aircraft, a submarine, about 4,000 Navy and other personnel, and about 2,200 Marines. And they got moved there not as a regular deployment, because they have a lot of deployments like that for training exercises in a yearly basis. This time, they have the mandate on the Article 50. And Article 50 gives the President of the United States a few things that could be done. One of the things is it does not itself authorize an open, large-scale military operation. Such actions typically require Title 10 authority to explicit congressional approval. It does not permit regular troop deployment or major combat actions without specific legal jurisdiction or congressional action. It does permit cover actions, but they cannot violate U.S. or international law, including the ban on assassinations. And those are the things that it does not allow. What it is allowed, it allows the president to declare a national emergency over foreign threats, enabling assets, increase sanctions, and financial restriction. It authorizes covert intelligence operations following a formal presidential finding with reporting requirements to Congress. On the IEEPA, part of Title 50 permits blocking property and barring transactions by designating foreign individuals or entities. That said and done, the Maduro regime took this as a threat, and they are famous for doing smoke screens. They utilize the same tactics that Fidel Castro and a lot of the socialist countries do. He's mobilizing a bunch of old people and young people with no type of training. And he's saying that he has 4.1 million people ready to defend the country. It is very easy to say that because he has not seen blood of that people in the streets. When you have the United States government entering, whether it's the Marines or the Army, into a country, they go with a mission to destroy the enemy and to come back home alive. It is not a video game. It's a game of power. Maduro was under the impression that Russia, China, and Iran are going to help him. And I have some news for him. And it's only my opinion. Russia is too busy fighting with Ukraine and has a lot of internal problems, and they're not going to move a finger for Maduro. China has problems of their own, and the only interest China has with the Maduro regime is that they invested $83 billion into an economy that has such a level of inflation that there was a time that you walked around to buy a can of Coke cost a couple of million bolivars. So they did away with all of the bolivars. It's a place that the government hates the United States, but the currency that they're using is the US dollar. They're utilizing a Zelle system, which was established on the Zelle to be utilized between one American bank account to another American bank account. What? They went around that. A lot of Venezuelans open up accounts in the United States and allow the regime to launder their money proceeds through the Zelle system. In the United States, I don't know if they're blind, but if I could see it as an investigator, I'm pretty sure that the IRS and other agencies also are able to see what is going on. The Venezuelan people are expecting for the United States to liberate them. Is it really the job of the United States to liberate the people of Venezuela? Or is it the job of the Venezuelan people to request help from the United States, training from the United States, weapons from the United States for them to fix their own problems? They voted for Hugo Chavez Fria to become the president of Venezuela. And they have had several elections after his death. And he appointed Nicolas Maduro as their leader. He has lost several presidential elections, and the international community has remained silent. Last year in June, the elected president of Venezuela, Mr. Urrutia, won the elections, and he's living in another country. He has not sworn allegiance. He has not taken possession of the presidency. He has not established his own cabinet. So you have an illegitimate government. Now, people say that Venezuela has sovereignty and that Maduro has sovereignty, but let's evaluate it the way I evaluate it. If a president loses an election, that takes away all his diplomatic protections. That means that he's just a regular human being like you and me. Why is it taking so long for someone that we already have arrest warrants for him to go in there specifically to arrest him in his cronies? That will give that vacuum for the president, the president that was elected, to come into power. We bring drug dealers from all over the world. We trick them into traveling overseas. We do a lot of things to get them, but we get them sooner or later, right? Maduro and his cronies travel to different places We know where their jets are going. We know where they're landing, but nobody puts their hands on them. And God forbid that a civilian puts their hands on them, because they could get you for an illegal arrest or a kidnapping. So, you make the law, but you don't enforce the law. And I will give it time. I think that, President Trump, the Secretary of State, are doing a fantastic job, but we need to put a little bit of pressure on those screws so the entire structure of the Maduro regime collapses. If Venezuela and his regime collapses, other regimes in that immediate area will start collapsing with him, including Nicaragua. We are giving the socialist monsters too much play, and they are destroying our backyard, which is Latin America. The United States cannot continue to neglect its partners in Latin America and concentrate in Africa, the Middle East, Eastern Europe. They're not that close. We have our enemies in the backyard. Colombia is the largest producer of cocaine in the world. Venezuela is the distribution point of most of the cocaine produced in Colombia, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Peru. And they're inundating our country with the poison of cocaine, and they lacing that cocaine with fentanyl. So they're utilizing the drug as an atomic bomb against our youth and our people. And we need to protect our citizens. Stop playing games. Legalization of marijuana has done damages to the United States. It has only made people rich that could afford to get the licenses to open up all of these stores. But in the reality, we have more mental problems in this country and the deterioration of the young people because we keep pushing an issue that marijuana is the best thing besides the sliced bread. And we're not looking at the fact that it's a starting point for all the other drugs. Colombia has also become the largest distributor besides the Netherlands for synthetic drugs. They are exchanging cocaine with the Netherlands, and they shipping containers full of synthetic drugs that are distributed throughout Latin America, double enhanced, changed chemically, and then shipped to the United States. This is all a coordinated effort without shooting one bullet to damage and kill our citizens. The Sinaloa cartel, the Jalisco Nueva Generación cartel, Los Zetas, and all of these organizations were hand in hand with the Colombian guerrillas, meaning call it ELN, Ejército de Liberación Nacional, call it Nueva Marquetalia, the dissidents of the old FARC, and call it the FARC, or the right-wing paramilitary structures that are the offshoots of the old AUC, Autodefensas Campesinas de Colombia. We losing. Maduro was able to do what Pablo Escobar dreamed about, becoming president of a country and becoming a narcotic trafficker at the same time. Whatever it takes, the United States to get rid of this guy needs to be done, because if we allow it to continue, we're going to see more of our young people dying in hospitals and in the street of overdoses. And I don't think that the job of the president of the United States is to see its citizens suffering from a scourge that we didn't ask for. Cocaine was designed specifically for the American and European market because at the beginning, it killed a few people, but it's not like fentanyl that it kills more people. But when you mix those two things together, you are selling poison, and that poison is killing our youth. If they did a program about how many people have died this year of fentanyl overdoses, we have lost more people than during the entire pandemic. So, whatever it takes, I don't want to see our soldiers getting hurt far away from home. And I pray for them to come back home safe. But you cannot tackle terrorism with flowers. You cannot tackle terrorism with diplomacy. You have to tackle terrorism with bad individuals that are willing to harm those individuals that are trying to hurt our way of life.
What do you think is the intention behind the troops deployment, the Marines, the warships to the coast of Venezuela? Is it just projecting power? Is it fighting drug trafficking? Is it a potential invasion? Where do you think this is going?
Nobody could tell you that, Danny. And you know why? The United States keeps certain secrets, and the element of surprise is necessary. But what I could tell you is this is not a regular maneuver. And they not only stopping Maduro from sending drugs via the Caribbean Ocean and rivers or through the air, but they're also stopping the oil shipments in these vessels that are phantom vessels. They buy these big tankers that were abandoned, no numbers, no nomenclatures, and they load them up. And in the middle of the ocean, there are international smugglers that are either Russian, Chinese, Iranian, or from whatever country. And they smuggle this oil violating the embargoes that the United States put. So embargoes only work if we have people enforcing it. But people think that you just go out in the ocean and you find a ship full of drugs and that the Coast Guard is going to bring the ship back. Do you know how expensive it is to move one of those big ships from one place to another? How long it takes? How much manpower it takes to do it? If we need to bring it back. Now, if we were to sink those ships, then we damage the ocean. So, you have a catch-22. People say, then you don't bring them, destroy them. Yeah, but at what cost? Then the other, Venezuela has a lot of military equipment that is obsolete. If out of, let's say, 100 planes, 10 are working properly, I give them a lot of credit. Because to run the planes that they have, the helicopters that they have, it takes repairmen and it takes maintenance. Their equipment needs to be calibrated. Well, they don't have that. And whatever parts they could get in the black market don't make those planes or helicopters safe. So they're always falling off the sky. There's a lot of accidents and people, soldiers die. Then they buy all of these weapons that they don't even know how to handle. And why I'm telling you that they don't know how to handle them is because they issue their soldiers 3 to 6 bullets a year to qualify. How can you train your police or your military with 6 bullets a year? It is very easy for Maduro to stand there. He never served a day in the military. Maduro has never served in the military. And his right-hand man, Diosdado Cabello, was a lieutenant. And he worked in an office. He never held any combat arms position while in the military. So if they think that we don't know their background, yes, we do. We know who they are. When Hugo Chavez Fria in 1992 tried to overthrow the president, Carlos Andrés Pérez, Diosdado Cabello was arrested by 2 friends of mine that were part of the intelligence division. And when they got him, he was underneath a vehicle. When they pulled him out, he peed on his pants. And they call him in Spanish, Mion, the guy that pee on himself. Now he talks this big game like he's Rambo, and they threaten the United States with harming our soldiers and this and that. But it's all a smoke screen. They have not seen a contingency of Marine attacking them. And they have not seen our special forces attacking them. They have not seen the might of the United States from one of those ships launching missiles at them. So it's very easy for you to prepare a bunch of old people and make them think that they could overpower the power of the United States. It is irresponsible from the Maduro regime. The best thing that guy could do is work a deal out where he's able to keep the money that he stole, and he goes and lives in Russia or whoever gives him political asylum, and that he prays that that country doesn't establish a policy of extradition in the future, because no matter where he is in the world, they're going to go get him. He has done a lot of damage, and he needs to open up all the jails. They have soldiers, they have policemen, they have intelligence officers, politicians, little kids, women of all ages inside the jails that have not committed a crime. And yesterday he has the audacity to release 13 people in good faith. Come on. And where is the United Nations? Where is the International Court of Human Rights? How many more investigations and how many more people need to die in Venezuela before the international community wakes up? I think that if they're not going to contribute to the safety of the world, they need to close those organizations. The UN is worthless. To me, the UN is worthless. The International Court is worthless. They are organizations with no teeth, no power, and what they do is that they get a selected group to go against the United States in everything the United States wants to do. I think that, if you don't want to be with us and you don't want to be part of democracy, you need to close your doors.
We have 5 minutes left. William, do you have a message that you want to leave to the listeners, especially here in the United States? Something that they need to understand about this situation, where it's going, and maybe a message that you want to leave the listeners and viewers with?
Yeah, the situation is very simple. Do we, as citizens of the United States, want to continue seeing our young people in the streets of all of our cities and even the smallest towns within the United States continue to be poisoned by a regime like the Maduro regime, with the help of Colombia, that is supposed to be one of our partners and is supposedly our best partner, but under the guidance of President Petro, another leftist, together with Maduro and the rest of the socialists in other countries, including Brazil, Nicaragua, have torn our backyard, have made fun of our way of life. Why do we allow this to continue when we know where the cancer is? We need to cut the cancer off so the rest of the body could survive. It's just as simple as that. We can't put band-aids on things. If we're going to have people dying, it's better if they die than if we die. I'd rather see them die than us die. And I am telling you, because I wore the uniform with pride. I was in the U.S. Army. I went in when I was 17. I did 6 years and 2 months in the U.S. Army. The best time of my life. I love the United States. I love democracy. I love what we stand for. I support whatever the United States decisions are, as long as those decisions are to help our citizens. We need to take care of our own. We open up the borders to criminals, violent gangs, and now we're trying to get rid of them. Why do that? Why did we have to open up the borders the way that the Biden administration did? Why did the Biden administration cancel the monitoring by satellite of all of the cultivation plantations of coca leaf and of amapola, which is the opium plant where heroin comes out of? Colombia also produces a lot of heroin. So if we cannot monitor from the sky, now we have 3 times more acres of plantations of these lethal plants that get converted into lethal narcotics than we did when the heyday of the Medellin, Cali, and Norte de Valle cartel. I'm only a simple citizen and I understand the problematic. I don't know what is going on, if maybe the people that they put in these offices need to be fired or need to be reassigned to a different type of work because they're not doing the job. And when somebody's trying to do their job, they get fired or they get messed with or they get labeled. If you don't love the country, move away. There's plenty of people that are always complaining, I hate the United States, what we're doing. If you hate it so much, the world is big. You could move. If you don't like what I'm saying, don't listen to me. You have the right to turn off the screen. But I'm going to speak because you only have one life. And if you don't speak up for yourself and for the people that might not have a mouth or might not have the will or might not have the courage to speak, I will continue to do it.
Well, thank you, William, for joining the podcast and for sharing all of this. Hopefully, some of the viewers, listeners will relate to this. I appreciate your insights and your knowledge here, and always glad to have you on the show. And thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Danny, and God bless you, and God continue to bless you with your podcast. You're doing great things. I love your interviews, and I'm learning a lot from you.